Tina's Know Your Rights group. Um, so I wanted to tell you about one of GBLS's clients, who I'm going to call Maddie for the sake of this story. Maddie came to GBLS last year. She was referred through the Suffolk District Attorney's office, and she had just left her abuser and taken her two young children and her 12-year-old sister with her. Maddie is a Spanish speaker from Guatemala, and at the time she was living in hotels waiting for domestic violence shelter. She was also involved in several probate and family court cases with her abuser and was in need of a series of legal protections. Maddie was not the only person in her family who had experienced abuse. Her 12-year-old sister and her 4-year-old daughter had also been assaulted by Maria's ex, who was the father of her two children. At the time that she came to GBLS, she needed a restraining order for herself, a restraining order for her 12-year-old sister, and she was actually facing a contempt action for withholding the children from seeing their father. She was also involved with the Department of Children and Families, who at the time was threatening to remove her children from her care if she allowed the parenting time with her ex. So she was kind of stuck in this rock and a hard place. If she allowed the parenting time, she was putting her children in danger and putting herself and her children at risk of removal by the Department of Children and Families and placement into foster care. But if she withheld, she was being held in contempt of court. Now, this is a case where the entire family law unit got involved. I'm pretty sure Megan remembers when this family was coming into the office. Our wonderful paralegal, Martha, and one of our attorney fellows took the initial case after an intake was conducted by one of our staff attorneys, who was the one who got the case from the district attorney. Senior attorneys were collecting documents and communicating with the shelters and advocates to ensure that Maddie and her kids had somewhere safe to live. Ultimately, one of our fellows, Sarah, and I took the case on for full representation. We stopped the visits by presenting evidence, including copious amounts of documentation, including sexual assault investigative interviews, Department of Children and Families records, police reports. We actually brought the DCF worker in to testify at the hearing to prevent a contempt, and ultimately, we stopped the visits altogether. We also got a favorable child support order for Maddie, obtained a restraining order for her that included the children, got her guardianship of her sister, got a restraining order for her sister, and stopped DCF's threat of foster care for the children. Her address was also impounded and continues to be impounded to this day. We also interfaced with law enforcement, the district attorneys, DCF, and we connected her with a social worker that works with my project specifically, who connected Maddie with therapy for herself, therapy for her sister, and therapy for her now 6-year-old daughter. The case was supposed to go to trial about 3 weeks ago, but in large part because of all the legwork that the family law unit as a whole had done at the beginning of the case, we were able to settle the case without putting Maddie through the trauma of needing to rehash all of the abuse that she and her sister had experienced. Ultimately, her abuser does not have any rights to visit the children or communicate with Maddie. He has to pay child support in a way that also maintains Maria's public benefits. This was a way we got a little creative in our settlement. DCF has closed the case. They're no longer involved with her and her family. And her restraining orders, both for herself and for her sister, continue to be extended. Maddie is also someone who's been assisted by several units at GBLS. Our tax clinic has helped her gain tax benefits for all of her children. Our immigration unit is currently representing Maddie, her sister, and her daughter with a U visa so that Maddie can ultimately get status in the United States and begin working. That's her big goal. She's very excited about that. Maddie and I also continue to work together to make sure that she maintains guardianship over her sister, that her sister's restraining order continues to be extended, and that she gets the relief that she's entitled to under the status of our agreement for judgment. In family law, and I think Megan will agree with this, our clients often come to us at the worst points in their lives. They frequently have absolutely no idea what they're entitled to and often face discrimination and bias in the courts because of a language barrier, because of gender, and because of racial bias. And one way that I think the family law unit attorneys and advocates more generally are able to assist is just by being there. Sometimes all a client needs is for someone to stand there and tell them it's okay and this is what you're entitled to. And that goes for all of the units across GBLS. I think that, the more we're able to connect our clients with the services that GBLS has to offer, the tax unit, the welfare law unit, the immigration unit, those are just the ones off the top of my head because they assisted Maddie, the better it is for our clients and the more successful and more able they are to eventually get out of poverty in the situations that they're in. So on behalf of myself, on behalf of the family law unit, and on behalf of Maddie, who I know would love to say this, thank you.